I have this memory of a day, well, maybe not so long ago, but I was responsible for a very large division of a hearing aid company. And I was on the retail side, so we were direct to consumers. And the interesting thing about hearing aids is when I was in that industry, I always used to say, you know, we sell a product that nobody wants at a price nobody wants to pay. It's a really tough industry because hearing aids are vital for people's health and well-being and quality of life, but it's a really challenging thing to have to accept that you may need them. And so the sales process is really unique. And the marketing that goes along with it is also very unique because there's still this kind of model of how advertising pieces go out that still interests people and gets them to call and come in the door. And it always struck me that in over 10 years in that industry that the marketing very infrequently changed. I guess I should say it very rarely changed, hardly changed at all. And so there's this dynamic between, you know, the marketing pieces that would have to go out and what made the phone ring and then what our salespeople had to deal with. And I give all that as a little background because there was always this conflict, you know, about the marketing pieces. The salespeople didn't care for them, but those were the pieces that made the phone ring. So there's this little tension between the two. So one day I remember getting a call from one of my clinics and the manager there was just furious and said, I can't believe this happened. Marketing screwed us over again. They put out the wrong ad with the wrong dates and the wrong phone number and the wrong price and we never even saw it. And I remember thinking, oh boy, deep breath. What is this going to be about? And so the phone kept ringing. And what we had was kind of this, you know, structural breakdown where several things were done incorrectly by the marketing department. And what I had then was this anger on the part of my salespeople, like, how could they screw us over this way? And that was kind of the common theme, like, they screwed this, they did this on purpose, they're out to get us. And I remember as the phone was continuing to ring and I'd see new phone calls coming in, I thought, we're at a pivotal moment here. Because, you know, at that point in time, we had like 500 clinics all over the US. And if my phone was ringing that much, then my 3 other colleagues, I knew their phones were ringing too. And I remember thinking, this is a moment that we can actually really make change. But I didn't need to make change with the marketing department. Now, certainly there probably had to be some things that had happened with them, but the change needed to happen with my team. And let me tell you why. You know, the more I listened to them and their words of anger, it really made me realize that for so long there was this sense of us versus them, sales versus marketing, you know, sales versus finance, sales versus operation, and all these us versus them kind of conversations really highlighted the fact that we had breakdowns in many, many different areas. And when you have this, you can either propagate it or you can fix it. And so we decided to fix it. But I'm going to tell you, there were a lot of bumps in the road. So the purpose of this talk, and kind of why I call it Why I Hate Marketing and Other Ways We Don't Play Nicely in the Sandbox Together, is because this is not unique. This was not unique just to the company that I worked for. I've seen this in so many different companies, from individuals, departments, different, parts of the company that might be in one country versus another country. This us versus them, and you don't understand what we face, and you're out to get us. And I remember having to think and say to my team, especially a couple of my managers that were really sharp, but were getting pulled into all the drama. And I remember saying, do you really think that every person in the marketing department woke up today just saying, gosh, I can't wait to screw the sales team over? And they go, well, no, but they are. Well, okay, maybe they have, maybe it has screwed you over a little bit, but you're saying they did this on purpose. And that's where we need to work. And so, really trying to identify how we communicate within companies. There's a couple main points to remember. And so we're going to start by, starting with the most simple. You know this by now. My number one point usually is breathe. When we have these moments that drive us to, craziness, because we're like, how could you do this to me, to us, to, our company, to what we're trying to achieve? That's when all of us really need to stop and breathe and take that moment to, like I always say, give some head space. But in that head space, we get perspective. And all of a sudden, it's a lot easier to say, well, I don't think they did this on purpose. Why would they purposely screw up hundreds and hundreds of ads that are in newspapers all across the country or direct mail all across the country? They didn't do it. And frankly, by the time they probably figured it out, there's probably people that were really scared about losing their jobs. And there were. I remember having conversations with this. And I remember we had just, at this time, gotten a new VP of marketing. And I knew she was stressed out. And, she's trying to get this team organized. There's all these moving parts. And I remember thinking, I'm so glad my people haven't called her first to complain, because, man, she needs an ally right now. And when I was able to breathe and give myself that space and then help my team to understand, you guys need to stop, take a breath, realize that there's probably more to the issue, then we can actually start to move forward. So number two, when you're trying to go into this and really try and find a solution, is I ask people, okay, first of all, tell me what your main objectives and priorities are. And I knew that. I ran the sales division, so I knew exactly what they needed to achieve. But by asking them those questions, like, what are your primary objectives? Well, to sell hearing aids. Okay, absolutely. So what are your priorities? We have to deal with the patients when they come in. We have to handle their objections. We have to figure out how to get them to buy when they're ready. I'm like, great. What do you think the marketing department's objectives and priorities are? And that's when people would kind of stop and say, well, they're supposed to put ads together. Like, okay, yeah, I guess that's their objective, but are they just here to put ads out? Or are they also aligned to our end goal, which is to help more people buy hearing aids? And as I ask that question, people would go, well, yeah, of course. Well, yeah, of course, though, doesn't answer the fact, not only just where the breakdown is, but do you understand we're all on the same team? We are literally on the same team. And once you can find that mental space to say, okay, we're all in the same team, you might still be saying, but yeah, they're screwing me over. But if we understand that we're all on the same team, we might actually be able to move forward. So point number 3 is really important. So now once we've had a little headspace, we understand that we're all on the same team. We have the same objectives, maybe not the same priorities, maybe not the same tasks, but we have the same objective. Now the element of a leader that I think is most vital is to sit down and identify where the points of failure have happened and the points of failure can happen in the future. So, just because one thing goes wrong this time doesn't mean that one thing will go wrong the next time. So it's a great opportunity to say, what went wrong this time? Where did it break down? What else could go wrong? Where could those things break down? And identify the points of failure in the current system. So when we understand those, we can start to do some things about them. But it's not just points of failure in the system. It's also points of failure, for instance, in communication styles, or it's how we have the order of business, how things go from A to B to C. And those parts of the process, when I get my leaders to say, tell me where you think this failed. Where was the point of failure that was most evident to you? Then they start thinking about it a little more strategically. Now it takes them out of, you're trying to screw me, and think more like a detective. Where did this break down? And when I can get people to look at things that way, all of a sudden they're a little bit more likely to go to the next step. And I remember when I went to our new VP of marketing and I said, hey, it's kind of like the knock on the door. And she's like, oh no, I know what you're going to talk about. I know it's crazy. I've had calls all day. And I said, okay, let's brainstorm this together. How can I help you?